Here on, okay, so I know the title of this was a little inaccurate, but I really wanted to get your attention because this is an important video for me and it does impact you and all of you who are supporting me in this makeup sphere. So let's do the first one. The makeup line was not a failure. It did not fail. And I'm going to try and explain exactly what happened with the makeup line and what is happening with it so that you're all up to date, because I get a lot of comments about it. So let's just jump right in. Now, I don't have a script, so I don't really know where to start, but we'll do our best. So as you know, I created a line of makeup brushes a decade ago, 10 years ago, and the entire line, that includes the makeup, was self-funded. To self-fund something of this size is incredibly difficult. Like you wouldn't believe the stress of it. It is immense. The makeup line was incredibly successful. To give you an indication, on the day of launch of the lipsticks, Beautylish sold nearly $800,000 worth of lipsticks. It was a ridiculously, incredibly successful launch. In case you're wondering, I did not receive that kind of money, or even half that. Did not happen, or even half that again. It just doesn't happen in the world of makeup and manufacturing. Costs are very, very different on my end. But they did a great job. They sold a huge amount of product. And I released eyeshadow palettes and bronzers and blushes and highlighters and pencils and foundation. And it was an incredible experience, an incredibly difficult, arduous experience, because this is what happens when you self-fund a project and you're not a multi-millionaire. To give you an indication, oftentimes to replenish brushes, this is my cost. It can be anywhere between £200,000 and £500,000 to replace the brushes. And if you're thinking that gives me a volume of say 50,000 of each brush in a set of 12, you'd be mistaken. The brushes cost a fortune to make, and when you're having to push out that kind of money, you're left with very little. So what can happen is, and we'll use the lipsticks just as a general example, the lipsticks get made, they sell really well, a replenishment order is given in. You can afford to do the replenishment order, but you no longer have any money to replenish brushes. So everything I do, there's a stop, start, stop, start. There's this huge wait period because I don't have any money left. At one point during this process, I truly had almost nothing left in my bank account. And you're left without anything in your bank account for incredibly long periods of time. Some brush manufacturers will take a 50% deposit. Most take 100% upfront. With makeup and cosmetics, it's a 50% and 50% on completion. The only way I could continue to sustain this kind of business would be to take massive loans. Now, I live in a 2-bedroom house, so I don't actually know what my property's worth, but if we say it's worth $350,000, it's a very small property. I would need around about 5 or 6 million in order to sustain the kind of replenishment that's needed for makeup. I can't get a loan against my house for that much because my house isn't worth anywhere near that. And also, I didn't really know much about business going into this. In fact, I knew almost nothing, as most of you will know with the issues I had with an accountant that turned out not to be an accountant. I knew very little. So this learning curve has been very, very steep. Also, let's talk about costs and expense and tooling. My palettes were custom to me. That means they were tooled specifically to me. Now, for anybody out there looking to get into makeup, tooling is incredibly expensive. Tens of thousands of pounds is what it takes to tool a product. It is an outrageous expense. And I was very disappointed in the results. Now, I wasn't disappointed in the makeup because I was incredibly proud of it, but it should have looked, with the money I spent, it should have looked like the most high-end product you'd ever seen on the market, ever. And it didn't look that way. And it was very disappointing when you consider how much money I spent on it. Now, knowing what I know now and having outside help, when I actually showed the costs of my eyeshadow palette to a lady that was helping me navigate the cosmetic manufacturers. She said that she had never, ever in her entire time working in this industry, so nearly 30 years, had ever seen a palette that cost the same amount that mine did. And that's partly because I didn't know what I was doing. And also there are other factors involved, such as volume. If you can't produce 200, 300 or 500,000 units at a time, your cost goes up like this. And that was also a problem. So I was having incredibly high amounts of costs in terms to make these products. Then there was replenishment orders and not having enough money financially to sustain this kind of process. Now, fast forward with me, because what happened was, as the foundations were launched, and they did so well, by the way, and the comments on those were so amazing. In fact, it's one of the most frequently asked questions is, where is the foundation? They were launched, and just after it was launched, I received a phone call that asked me if I would like to sell my company. I absolutely wanted to sell my company. I thought it would be great because it would get me out of this cycle of being perpetually broke. Now, this was supposed to be a very, very quick sell, because there's only me. So there's not this team of people, there's just me. It turned out to not be a quick process at all. It took almost a full year. And during that year, I was not able to reproduce or do replacement orders or anything because it would fall out of the contract. So I was kind of in this limbo land where we couldn't do replenishments, we couldn't pretty much do anything. And then on the final day, when it was almost time to sign on the dotted line, and I was getting hints, by the way, for a long time, it fell through. They didn't have any money to buy the company. So this whole year, I've not earned any money, I've not done anything. It was just a waste of time. The next day, I received a phone call from another interested party who wanted to buy my company. And you can guess what happened. The same thing happened, but on a much quicker scale. It was around about 6 months this time, just under 6 months. So once again, I was stuck in this limbo period where nothing had happened. By that point, I'd had enough. I felt like I'd had an absolute guts full of it, and I didn't want to do any of it ever again. Never again. I was tired of having no money. I was tired of the stress of it. I was tired of it all. So I decided, I'm not going to do it. That's it. I'm done. Now, what happened during about a week or so into this process, I took out all of my makeup, everything I'd ever made, the foundations, the powders, everything. I depotted everything. I pulled them out of their pans, and I had this collection in front of me of what it all looked like, decanted. I started to mess around with it because I was bored, broke apart all the blushes, mixed them with waxes to create creams. I had a lot of fun doing that. And I also had packaging from other companies, so I was doing a terrible job of filling it just to see what other things would look like. And it made me feel good to be doing that again and creating, and also to see what the makeup line could have looked like if I'd had more knowledge to start with. I then, on the peripheral of during the second sale of my company, there was a couple of gentlemen who were very nice to me and were very interested in my brand and the way that I approached makeup. Now, after both sales fell through, they approached me and said, we would like to help you. We don't want to buy your company, but we would like to help you grow it. We believe it could be something bigger and better than it is. Now, me being me, I was just like, why? I've had 2 failed attempts now. I feel like I'm done with this. I haven't had I didn't find the process fun. It was incredibly stressful. I'm also not the most popular YouTuber out there. I've got 4 million pretty much subscribers. But the scale of YouTube, it does this. You start here. If you're lucky, you hit a peak, and then you slide down. That is the nature of YouTube. Now, I'd already managed to get to the top, and then I was sliding down. And it's the nature of it. And I wanted to be honest. I was saying, but I'm not even this big name. I don't go to any premieres. I don't want to be famous. You're going to have a hard time with me. And they just said, but we like your philosophy. We believe that the way you view makeup is important, and we want to help. So that's what I did. They came on board, and the entire line, everything is getting revamped from the ground up. It started with the makeup brushes, which I was actually doing during the sale of the company, because I was bored and I wanted something to do. So I started to create my brand new brush range, and it was an incredible experience. And it was so good to release them as well, to finally release something. So I got these people on board, and the whole process is being worked from the ground up. The makeup is coming back, but the process of creating makeup takes a long time. And knowing now everything I know the things that I did wrong in the beginning, and I want to get them right this time. There's also a skincare line coming, which is incredible. There are also synthetic brushes coming at affordable prices. There is a lot going on behind the scenes, but I wanted to keep you up to date, that I haven't forgotten. But the reason I haven't been able to talk about it is because things were going on in the background that I wasn't able to speak about. Running a business yourself personally, funding it personally, is a very difficult, very stressful job. And I cannot stress that enough. I understand why a lot of YouTubers will go with other companies and get it done for them, and they receive a very small profit from doing that. I understand why they do that, because it takes the financial stress away. But you don't own your company. You probably won't even own your name, and that is a problem. And I wanted to own my name, and I wanted to do it by myself. When the brushes were originally launched, I had an agent at the time who said to me nonchalantly, well, why don't you do it as a passion project? Pay for it yourself, do it. You know, little did he know that it would actually turn out to be an epic journey. I hate to use that word, but it did. It became quite a wonderful thing. So that's where we are. The makeup is coming back, revamped, repackaged, the way that I see it, the way that I want it to be seen by the world. There are more brushes coming, lots of brushes, including the Japanese artisan brushes, and of course synthetic brushes at the highest quality you've ever seen, at way more affordable prices. There are lots of things coming, and the skincare line, which is looking beautiful, but they take time. They really do. Stability testing for makeup can take anywhere from 2 to 9 months. It's a long process, but it will be worth it. Also, we will hopefully be in stores next year as well, and we will be online with other retailers as well. There's a lot coming. There you go. Oh, it feels good to talk about it and get it off my chest. It's been the most stressful time. It really has. You've no idea. You've no idea. And it feels good to talk about it finally. Also, a big thank you to everybody as well. Not only for the people who've supported me and my business and the brushes and the makeup, but everybody that watches as well. It's incredibly important to me. I will never be one of these YouTubers who is seeking out fame. No interest in that. I'm currently struggling with work that I need to do that I really do not want to do, work that's been given to me. You know, would you like to do this, this, and this? And I'm like, no, I don't. I've explained I do not like doing that stuff. You know, I wish I were different. I wish I were different, but I am me. I'm quite quiet, I'm insular, and I really want to create a line that I'm proud of. A line of makeup, of skincare, of brushes in all price brackets that can serve a multitude of people and make them happy. I hope you love what's coming. Please be patient with me, because it is all coming. It's been a very difficult, long, arduous few years, and I'm glad it's all over with, and I cannot wait. Really cannot wait to show you what's coming next. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.